friends, this is Viraj. Welcome to One Day One Answer initiative of GS Core. So today we'll be discussing the subject of international relations, and the theme that we are looking into is international relations in India. If you go through the question papers of last 5 years or last 10 years also, what you will see is at least one question is asked on international relations. So if I basically had to write an answer, what should be my attitude with respect to with, with respect to international organizations and India? What should I take into consideration? So first thing that I should take into consideration, and this applies to when you are studying also, so focus on these points. First is the objective of that particular international organization. All right, first is the objective of that particular international organization. What are the broader objectives of it? And then how does India fit in the schemes? How does India fit in the scheme of that particular international organization? That also has to be taken into consideration. What benefits does India get out of it? What negotiations India will have to do? Also, how will India settle in that particular set of countries? Third is with respect to problems problems that will basically arise out of that international organizations. Are there any typical issues related to that international organization and the working of that organization? And finally, the reforms that are needed in the international organization. And basically what you have to look into reforms is how India can orient those reforms, how India basically can orient those reforms. That has to be taken into consideration. So question on international relations, international organizations will be only on these 4 points. These 4 points you concentrate, you will be able to make better notes, and you will be able to answer in the better way. Okay, questions are only on these 4 points, please remember this. Now getting to the PYQ, let us now look into the PYQ related to international organizations. So look at this. Virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In the light of the above statement, point out the role of India in mitigating the problems. Okay, this question was asked quite recently. This question was asked quite recently, and answer to this question is not that difficult. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization was in news. It was bound to be asked. The question on it was bound to be asked, and the way in which they have framed the question, now what they have done is they have basically taken you towards knowing what are the problems related to it, and they have asked you what India can do with respect to those problems. All right, what India basically can do with respect to those problems. Also, when you look at the problem that they have asked in the question, they have asked a specific problem, and that is you know um, the question with respect to problems has been specific with respect to problems between the countries, problems of unity basically of Shanghai Corporation Organization. So how to go about it? So as I told you, now you have to first and foremost focus upon the objective. So in the first, so I will say in the first instance itself, that is in the introduction itself, what you have to mention is what does that organization do. So what does Shanghai Corporation Organization do? Shanghai Corporation Organization basically is an intergovernmental organization or a regional organization or an international organization, whatever nomenclature fits you. Regional organization or intergovernmental organization is better. Okay, and it looks into socio-economic development of Eurasia. It looks into socio-economic development of Eurasia. Okay. More specific, it also looks into, when you talk about socio-economic organization, elaborate a bit further, it also looks into or takes care of energy security or security in general. It will look into security and economic development of the region as a whole. All right, then what you have to do is go towards the bridging statement. And what is the bridging statement? Although the organization has a lot of potential, it is driven by rivalries within the countries, that are member of it. Okay, then come to the main body of the question. In the main body of the answer, in this main body of the answers, na, you have to specifically mention what are the disputes between the countries and which are those countries. Okay, so first will be with respect to ethnic problems within the organization. When we talk about ethnic problems within the organization, you can basically give the example of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, who basically have ethnic differences, or the issue of ethnic superiority between them has been raging for a long period of time, and it also gets reflected in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Second problem with respect to Shanghai Cooperation Organization is that of leadership. This particular problem is brewing for some time now, and this problem of Shanghai Cooperation Organization is between Russia and China, and this has again led to fractionism within. So there are a group of countries which, in a way are oriented towards Russia. For example, India is oriented towards Russia, Iran is oriented towards Russia. On the other hand, Pakistan is oriented towards China. For that matter, even Kazakhstan to a certain extent, Uzbekistan also to a certain extent is oriented towards China. Okay, now look into it. Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan have differences between them, but their orientation in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we see it towards China. There is also, there are also, traditional disputes which are on display in SCO. Traditional disputes that are displayed in SCO. One dispute is of course India and Pakistan, and other is of course between and India, China and India, and it also in a way does not allow, it also in a way does not allow full reflection, complete reflection of how issues will be settled in the organization. Also, another dispute that is brewing up, and that is with respect to addition of new members. Basically, addition of new members. Okay, so China is oriented towards addition of new members. Other countries are not so much. For example, Turkey, for example, Saudi Arabia intend to be part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but the mutual rivalries within the countries that are already the members, na, they are not letting new members come in. Now coming to the second part of the question, how basically India can play a role. What role basically India can play and how that role has to be played. देखो, India is in that way a mature democracy, ठीक है, and being a mature democracy, internally we are well aware of how to basically settle problems, or at least not let those problems get into the objective of the work that we are doing. That is one of the qualities that India has. So it is for India to keep mutual disputes mutual disputes out of SCO. So it has to first and foremost set an example of not allowing disputes between it and China or it and Pakistan to be discussed in Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And in that way, what it can do is, and in that way, what basically it can do is, it can basically set an example for other countries who will then settle their disputes outside the organization and work towards the objectives of the organization. Second thing is Second thing is use the sidelines of Shanghai Corporation organizations for sidelines of SCO to resolve the disputes. All right, resolve the disputes. Encourage other countries also to resolve the disputes on the sidelines, not in the conferences of the Shanghai Corporation Organization, not in the summits of the Shanghai Corporation Organization, but on the sidelines of it. Okay, so what happens is Shanghai Corporation Organization is not affected by mutual rivalries. It is not affected by mutual rivalries. It can also be done through informal negotiations. It can be also pushed through informal negotiations. One more thing that has to be taken into consideration, and that is economic development of the countries that are part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. For if that happens, there will be an interdependency that will develop, and that will lead to focused attempt upon development rather than mutual rivalries. Attempt upon development rather than mutual rivalries. And for that purpose, India has to basically move towards support, move towards and work upon increasing connectivity between the countries. When I say connectivity, the connectivity will be both physical and through cyberspace. It will be through, it will be basically through physical connectivity and also cyberspace technology connectivity. And if we specifically talk about physical connectivity, now the best example of it will be international north south transport corridor. What it will basically do is it will increase interdependency, and that has to be mentioned in your answer. Okay, so countries, if they work towards a common goal of development, they will in a way put their disputes on the back burner in the organization, and that is what we basically want. Also, it is important because these countries are also culturally bond to each other na? So there has to be enhancement of cultural ties, which again India can lead. There has to be enhancement of cultural ties, which basically India can lead. So these basically are the ways in which Shanghai Cooperation Organization the disputes can be resolved with a stance taken by India, initiatives taken by India. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for being part of this session. I hope you will be writing your answers. You will be writing your answers, and those who have not yet written, please initiate the process so that you are benefited by this particular initiative of GS Code. Thank you so much. Bye.